Yo, what's going on everyone? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to Destiny2 video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a Grandmaster build for this week's Grandmaster. It is the luminality again, so I know that kind of intimidates some people, but don't worry because with this build, you'll be able to get through it very easily. This build is basically designed so you can get through a strike as easily and painless as possible. So you're going to be able to deal with everything the strike throws at you, no matter what it is, or no matter how good or bad your teammates might be from LFG. If you're going to be LFG in this week, you definitely want to give this build a try. For this build, you're going to need two must-have things. The first one's going to be the Grafalcon, and this I think is the first GM build this season that is actually using the Grafalcon. And we're also going to need the Graviton Lance. What can I say? The Graviton Lance is just so good, and it's really good specifically for this strike. You get like so many overshields, especially at the end at the boss fight when things get pretty hectic. It is going to be amazing for it. So those are going to be your two must-have things. So as long as you have those two, you're going to be pretty good to go and ready to take on this GM. So now, let's get into it and let's take a look at some of the weapons we're running. So we already talked a little about the Graviton. It is going to be our main weapon for dealing with ads, and also it's going to be a great weapon to deal with those barrier champions. It is very good against them, and especially if you have the catalyst. Please have the catalyst because it makes a huge difference. If you guys don't have it done, make sure you get it done. Not only do you get extra damage against champions, but every time you break a shield, you will also get an overshield yourself. And that's any shield. It can be a champion shield, it can be an overshield from a moth, it can just be a different element overshield. As long as you break a shield, you're going to get an overshield yourself. And this is going to be really good and really clutch in the end. Since there's a lot of like shielded void scions, whenever you break any shield, you're just going to get an overshield and you're going to be tankier in the boss fight. So definitely get the catalyst done if you guys haven't done it. The Graviton is going to be an amazing weapon for just so much of the strike. Now for a heavy weapon, I'm actually going to recommend the Hammerhead machine gun. This is just a really good machine gun. You're going to be able to deal with ads very easily. You're going to be able to deal with bigger enemies. The Hammerhead is just amazing. And since we're going to have a lot of volatile rounds a lot of the time, thanks to our exotic, then it's going to make this thing be even better at that clear. And also be able to deal with champions. So we're going to be able to break champion shields with our machine gun as well. And we can melt them pretty quickly with a machine gun. So this thing is going to be pretty amazing at dealing with ads, dealing with champions, and machine guns have tons of ammo. So if you really want to, you're going to be able to main this thing for a long period of time without having to use any of your other weapons. If there's too many enemies and you feel overwhelmed, you could always pull out your machine gun and just start tearing through them. Especially if you have something like Killing Tally, it's going to be super nice. And lastly, for our final weapon, we're going to have the coal. The rockets items are amazing, and it's also unstoppable. So that gives us a way to stun those unstoppables. The coal is just going to be pretty great as well. Pretty much every one of our weapons we have on this build is good on their own, but when you combine them all together, you pretty much could just switch to any of the weapons and they're going to be doing pretty great. Now for the super, we are on the tether, although technically it's not really necessary. I just really like the tether for this strike. There's a lot of spots where you could tether and just get a bunch of enemies. So I would say that tether is probably like the best for this strike, but I could definitely see something like Silence and Skull also working. The super itself is not really like super important to the build, so that's something that you could definitely change. Now for the grenade and the melee, we're going to run the Dust Field plus Wither and Blade combo. Both of these are going to be able to slow enemies, meaning that we can put a debuff on the enemies very easily and trigger a Stylist Executioner. That's pretty much it. And they're also just really good abilities. Being able to freeze and slow are really strong in PvE. So not only do they work pretty great with the aspects we're using, but they're just good abilities to have around. And that pretty much brings us to our first aspect, which is Stylist Executioner. Whenever we defeat a target affected by an elemental debuff, we'll go invisible. And once we go invisible, when we come out of invisibility, we're going to have volatile rounds on our void weapons, meaning our machine gun and our Graviton Lance are going to have volatile rounds. A Stylist Executioner is a big part of the build since when we go invisible, that's what gives us our volatile rounds on our weapons and makes them more effective, and we can actually use that as a chest piece. So this is a big part of the build, and we have a lot of different things that are going to help us be able to go invisible. Activating our class ability is going to apply a debuff. Our grenade and our melee are going to apply debuffs. And of course, those volatile rounds, once we get them, they're also going to be applying debuffs, so we can just continue getting that invisibility. We're going to be invisible a lot of the time with Stylus Executioner, which is not only good for empowering our weapons with the volatile rounds, but also is just going to be good for survivability, especially at the end of the strike, where there's a lot of ads all around. It's going to be great for just getting out of a bad place or going for a rest on a teammate that died in a bad place. So Stylus Executioner is just going to be amazing. Now the second one is going to be Ascension. This one's going to apply a debuff by jolting targets that are all around us whenever we activate our class ability, giving us a quick way to activate Stylus Executioner and go invisible. And it's also going to give us some damage resistance whenever we're amplified, thanks to the Galvanic Armor seasonal mod. I feel like I talk about Ascension pretty much every video, but I just love it. And it works so well with Stylus Executioner. So it gives us another easy way of triggering that Stylus Executioner. And also that 30% damage resistance cannot be understated. It makes you so much tankier and just increases your survivability by a ton for not really doing much, just activating your class ability. Now moving on to the Fragments, the first one is the Faster Hope, which is going to give you faster class ability regen whenever we have an elemental buff like Amplified. So it just makes it so we can spam our class ability a little more, meaning that we're always going to be amplified with that 30% damage reduction. So it's going to be pretty great. After that, we're going to have the Faceted Balance, which is going to give us back melee and grenade energy depending on the type of damage that we do. Since most of our damage is going to be light damage, we're going to get mostly grenade energy back, but that's fine since that's also going to apply slow, meaning that we can also proc Stylus Executioner with that. But we're also going to be getting some grenade energy as well, so overall we're just going to be getting our abilities back faster with Faceted Balance. After that, we're going to have the Faceted Sacrifice, where we have Arc, Solar, or Void buffs, Ability Final Blows, grant bonus Transcendence energy, Darkness Transcendence energy. So this will just make it so we get Darkness Transcendence energy a little faster, since we have a lot of light damage anyways. So we can have Transcendence up a lot more often, and some users can spam it. This is gonna little spam Transcendence a little bit more. After that, we're gonna have the Faceted Protection. This was just really good in GMs. Whenever we're surrounded by combatants, we are more resistant to incoming damage, and that damage resistance is even increased when we're Transcendent. So Faceted Protection is just fantastic for GMs, especially at the end for this one, where there's enemies all over the place. You definitely want Faceted Protection. And the last one is going to be the Faceted Purpose. Whenever we pick up an overpower, we're going to gain some overshields. Essentially just increasing our survivability even more, and also proccing some of our other fragments like Faceted Hope and also Sacrifice. So Purpose is going to be pretty good. The overshield itself also reduces damage taken from combatants. So having an overshield actually gives you more damage resistance when you have that overshield. So the overshield is really nice. It's not just extra health, but you're actually taking reduced damage while you have that overshield. Now for our exotic class item, of course, we have the Grafalcons, and it's mostly just for those volatile rounds. There's a couple of other things that the Grafalcon does, but that's mostly the only reason we really have it on, for the volatile rounds. You can also get this on the exotic class item, so if you have one in the exotic class item, then you could also run that instead of running the chest piece. And you get the benefits of getting a whole nother exotic perk with it. But if not, the chest piece is going to work just fine. Now let's move on and actually take a look at the mods that we have on this build. And let's start off with the helmet. So we're going to have run Heavy Ammo Finder, Harmonic Siphon, and Radiant Light. Just so we can keep our heavy ammo machine gun topped off with the Heavy Ammo Finder. And Harmonic Siphon is just so we can make more orbs with both our machine gun and our graviton. For our gauntlets, we're going to have Momentum Transfer, Impact Induction, and then a Harmonic Loader. The Harmonic Loader is again going to affect both of our weapons, and we're going to be getting our abilities back faster whenever we do some damage with our melee or our grenade. They basically just give each other energy, our grenade and our melee. Now for the chest piece, you definitely want to have Harmonic Resistance if you went with a Void Super. But you definitely want to have a Solar Resistance and 2 Void Resistances. There's a lot, I really do mean a lot of Void damage, especially from the boss. And the Resistances are just going to help you survive. The solar one also kind of works out since there are a couple of things that do hit you with some solar damage. For the boots, we have Absolution, Recuperation, and Harmonic Scavenger, so we can heal and get our abilities back faster. And lastly, for our class item, we're going to have Bomber, Utility Kickstart, and Powerful Attraction. The bad thing about Bomber and Powerful Attraction is that they do not work when we activate our class ability for our Ascension. So the only one that's going to work with Ascension is going to be Utility Kickstart. So if you don't want these at all, if you're never planning on using your class ability for something that's not just activating Ascension, then you could also ditch these and instead equip another Utility Kickstart. And for the artifact, we don't really have anything special. We have like the usual ones you always kind of want to run. Elemental Siphon, Press the Advantage, Radiant Orbs, Counter Energy, Galvanic Armor, Transference, and lastly Shield Crush. They just let us get our abilities back faster, spam Transcendence, and then Galvanic Armor is what gives us that big 30% damage resistance whenever we're amplified. So, not really anything special with the mods. I would say that they're pretty standard. And with that, that's going to be the end of the build right there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, hopefully you guys like it. Like always, there will be a link in the description and in the comments below in case you guys want to apply the build and use it yourself in the GMs. And I wish you good luck. It is definitely a tougher GM than normally. The one thing that you definitely want to keep in mind is just to control the ads as much as you can. If you see a big group of enemies, as soon as you can, hit them with your graviton or with your machine gun. As long as you don't let the ads get out of control in this GM, it becomes a lot easier. So just make sure that you focus the ads as soon as they spawn if you can, and take advantage of all those overshields that you're going to be getting with the graviton and your amplified. Just pretty much spam your abilities as much as you can. That's pretty much what this build is for, being able to spam abilities. You should definitely have a lot of survivability for when there's a lot of enemies. You have your fragments, you have your amplified, you have your overshields. So there's a lot of things that are going to be reducing damage that you take. And if everything else fails, you could always go invisible by killing something that's like damaged by your grenade, your melee, or just hitting them with your Ascension. As soon as you do that, you're going to go invisible. And remember, if you break a shield with your graviton, you also get a shield in return. So also take advantage of that. But I definitely think that this build can definitely get you through it. And good luck with the GM. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the build. If you guys did try it out, make sure that you guys come back and tell me what you guys think about it, and if you made any changes to it, to more suit your needs. Because I put out these builds, but I know everyone kind of plays a bit differently. So if you guys need to make a change on something, I welcome it. Anyways, thank you for watching today. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. Leave it like you did, dislike you didn't, subscribe to the channel in case you guys haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.